Tonight on UpFront, we delve into the unfolding stories of citizens attempting to get onto the voters' register in their quest to exercise their democratic rights. Passionate politicians strategizing to secure votes and election officials navigating the challenges of voter registration. We'll bring you an up-close look at the incidents that shaped day 2 of the limited voter registration exercise across the country, from double registrations to technical hiccups, long queues, and even the unexpected act of providing transportation to constituents. UpFront leaves no stone unturned in its exploration of all this important exercise. We shall be speaking to independent monitors, the Electoral Commission, and the former Director of Elections of the opposition NDC. But we shall also be finding out what's been happening with the attempt to injunct the process, as we are told that there's been struggles to get to the AC to get this going on. But first, let's go to the headquarters of the Electoral Commission and speak to the director who's in charge of electoral services there, Dr. Kwaku Serbo. You join us now on UpFront. You're welcome, sir.
Good evening.
Doctor,
it's quick, not quick.
Forgive me, yes, I surely should be able to get that right. And we have been told, our reporters have been on the grounds. If you give me the opportunity, I will go through region by region, center by center, the many hiccups, double registrations, long queues, and even the acts that some are beginning to have difficulties with. Did we commence this registration on a false start, or is just the normal things we expect in a registration like this?
Are you saying attempted double registration or double registration?
Oh, well, of course, attempted though, because it ought to be established as such. But clearly, I wanted to start from where people arrange issues to do with technical problems, like machines of the Electoral Commission.
I just wanted to correct that.
No, I get your point.
So one, there's no double registration. The system is able to detect those who attempt to do double registration. So it is a system that found them out.
Okay,
so
and they were rejected ab initio.
That tells you the integrity of the system.
Okay.
Then again, with respect to the hiccups that you are talking of, I don't know if you check the hiccups yesterday as compared to today. You read that drastically the problems have been addressed, or the problems have gone down drastically. And it is normal. All those people that I have talked to, what I told them that we are doing this exercise for 21 days. And basically, the first 3 days, you have the challenges, then you are addressing them. And by the time you finish with the third day, the system will have been smoothing. So all that is happening. It's normal. The challenges will start, and you'll be able to address them. One issue that we should also understand is that for 3 years, our officials have not been using the machine, so it affects their speed, and they make small mistakes that they are corrected. So if you compare today's activities with that of yesterday, then you can see that drastically, you can see most of them problems of yesterday have been addressed. So that's my initial comment.
Mindful of my experience with this system, they are supposed to print end-of-day reports. Do they have to also print commencement of their reports? Because I've heard some raised concerns about this.
If you are going to start the work, you should be able to print the start of day so that you know where you ended the day before, whether it confirms with what actually you concluded with. So you should be able to print start of day and end of day.
Now that's interesting to observe, but is it what's happening on the ground? Already I heard some.
I've not had any contrary view.
Okay, because I've heard, including the very leadership of the NDC monitoring this, express concerns about the inability of some centers to do the commencement of day or end of big start of day report. That's the actual terminology.
If it was at the place where there were challenges, once the system was offline, I'm talking of when you are doing the online and the program is off, the network is down, you cannot print.
Okay.
So wherever the network was down at the beginning, you can print. But before you start, once the machine comes online, you should be able to print.
Now, the other point, though, is the arrest that happened in the Upper West region in the Wa municipalities. We understand that 2 individuals were apprehended at the Wa Municipal Office of the Electoral Commission. This is because there's this presumption that they were attempting to register twice.
That is not the only place. There have been a lot of places where people... Let me explain. If the system is online, it means that at any point in time, the system is linked to the 17 million people who have registered in 2020. So if you are one of the 17 million and you put your fingers on the machine, because it is linked to the system online, it will do the matching and it will tell you that you are registered and your particulars will show.
Okay.
So that you will not even argue because your name and the picture, including your clothing of the day that you registered, will show. So you can't argue, and the system will not allow you to register. So that's how what happened in Wa West, so in Upper West, but that is the only place that we have had that issue.
Okay, so how many so far across the country, and have they all been arrested?
Oh, I don't have the figures yet.
Okay, now...
Normally we don't arrest them, we just ask them to go in peace.
All right.
So we will not allow you. We allow you to go. We don't arrest them.
So, but they were arrested in Wa...
No, they were allowed to go there. We will reprimand you and I'll ask you to go.
Okay, so they're eventually allowed to go. Now,
they were not arrested.
In Sanarigu, in the northern region, the people were disappointed because the process delayed. In fact, this issue to do a network of 40 machines were pretty much what was actually the excuse given. Today, it started at 3 p.m.
Yes, in Tamale, I know that we have even to airlift some of the kids to them today. So when the backups and the rest are all not working, we realized that in Tamale we needed to airlift some of the machines to them, so we did that. We gave them 4 of the machines, but for some reasons they were not working. But some of them too, it's not that the machines are not working. For instance, today in one of the Swamponwa in the Shanti region, yesterday they rated only about 7 or so. Today the whole day they were complaining that when the IT consultant talked to them, realized that the person who is working on it, who does not appreciate how the system works. So he went through with him about how to log in the rest, and within 2 hours they had rated 68. So some of them, the people will tell you that the machine is not working, but because they might have forgotten their scores and they didn't maybe probably take the training seriously. And immediately they are rectified, then the system begins to work. So it's not all of them that you can blame the machine. Some of them too could be attributed to the people who were operating them.
Now, the concerns about transportation was the biggest problem in Pru East, in the Blue East region. Some were saying that they spent somewhere around 100 cedi traveling to the district offices. I know that there has been several pleas for you to at least isolate places where the centers are very far from most of the residents, especially in rural areas. After the first day hiccups, are you likely to consider the plea of the people?
We did not decide on the district out of the Blue Moon. We look at the implications on the system, and what our advice and I appeal to Ghanaians is that we spent a lot of money to compare new voters register. Let us maintain the integrity of the current system, and we can only maintain it by putting in place any step that will help prevent people from abusing it. Now that we are even doing at the district, look at the attempts to take advantage of the system. So we did not decide to do it at the district without considering the implications. We have gazetted the 268 retaining centers. If you want to add anything, you have to gazette, and you need 21-day notice. So for now, I will only that we understand whatever they are saying, but looking at the time and the effort to ensure the integrity of the system, let's go by what we have, and we'll be able to do it and prepare the elector for the district level election. Next year, God willing, we'll have enough time to maybe expand it.
Are you by any chance in the headquarters of the Electoral Commission?
Come again?
I was asking whether you have any idea what's been happening at the headquarters of the Electoral Commission if you are there.
I work at the head office, so why wouldn't I? I can't say that I know everything, but I work at the head office.
Okay, I get you 100%. It's because the lawyer, Pakpo Samuado, has been really concerned about the inability of bailiffs to serve the Electoral Commission, some court proceedings, contempt application of a sort, because they've not allowed them enter the building. Is this allegation true?
I'm not aware that anybody has been stopped from coming to the office.
But have you instructed policemen providing securities at the head office to obstruct the bailiffs from entering the premises?
I've not heard of any bailiff entering the office who has been prevented. So I don't think anybody will give advice or instruction that nobody should come to the office. I entered the office without any hindrance, and I left without any hindrance. And it has not come to my attention that anybody has been prevented from coming to the office.
Maybe finally, as we speak, has the EC received any writs at all, or applications of injunction, of contempt, or any suits at all? Have you been served?
Those things will go to the legal department if they come.
Okay.
And I wouldn't know.
Doc, I'm grateful to you this evening. We'll be monitoring tomorrow, perhaps come to you on the latest development on it. But many thanks to you for your time this evening. Dr. Sebo Kweku is actually the Director of Electoral Services at the Electoral Commission. But I was raising this matter with you, and the lawyer who's been part of this particular engagement has been joining us now. Pakpo Samuado, you're welcome to UpFront. I hope you are doing well this evening.
I think that it is quite shameful that the EC, and I'll send you videos of what happened and audios of what happened at the Electoral Commission today. I'll send you videos and audios of what happened at the Electoral Commission this afternoon. Now, this is what happened. Yesterday, the bailiff of the High Court Tema went to the head office of the Electoral Commission seeking to serve the Electoral Commissioners with the contempt proceedings, applications that were filed. When he got there, he was informed by the security at the gate that they have a meeting ongoing and that he should come back at 9 a.m. today. At 9 a.m. today, the bailiff of the court was at the Electoral Commission headquarters. And he was asked or told that there was nobody at the head office, and that the head office is closed down for 1 week at their new head office. So he should proceed to the old head office at Ridge. So they left for the head office at Ridge. There was a lawyer from my office, there was the bailiff of the court. When they got there, that is when they had the confrontation. And I'm going to send you the audio for you to listen to and play back to Daniel. Join your news feed. The conduct of the Electoral Commission is shameful. What they are doing is interfering with the service of the court process. We are left with no choice but to go back to the High Court and ask the High Court for superior service of the process. If Mr. Srebo is saying that they are not preventing any bailiff from the court to enter the premises, I am saying that tomorrow morning, I'm going to ask the bailiff and lawyers from our office with cameras from your television station to go to the head office of the Electoral Commission tomorrow at 9 a.m. and see whether they will be allowed entry into the premises of the Electoral Commission to effect the service.
Let me get this straight. For those who are not in the know of the kind of service you are seeking to serve the EC, exactly what is this application about?
It is a contempt application to ask the court to hold the Electoral Commission boss, Jane Mensah, and 2 of the deputy commissioners for contempt.
Why?
And knowing the effect of that, that is why they are evading service. If Dr. Srebo is saying that he has given or the commission has given no satisfaction. I am saying this on Joy FM, and I'm asking your television station to be at the head office tomorrow. We will come to your office, and together with the bailiff of the court, we will go to the Electoral Commission office with you, the media, to seek to serve the Electoral Commission with the contempt proceedings and see what will happen at the gate.
Now, let me understand this perfectly.
I hope, Raymond, you are agreeing to this. That tomorrow morning, Joy FM, as part of your public service duty, is promising that you will provide us with media coverage to go with the bailiff of the court to the head office where Dr. Srebo is sitting this evening and telling the whole world that they are giving no instruction for bailiffs of the court not to have service to a public institution to serve court processes. I want this on record that tomorrow morning, Joy FM is guaranteeing that at 9 o'clock, as part of your morning show, you will give us live coverage at the EC head office to see the process of contempt being attempted to be served on the Electoral Commission. And let's see what will happen.
I don't think that should be a very difficult thing. I mean...
No, I'm not asking you to give me a vague promise. I'm asking you, with the hearing of all your listeners, to give us that promise, that you provide us with coverage tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock.
Certainly, we shall be there. But my question is, did the EC officials, did the bailiff introduce him or herself?
I am going to send you in fact, let me send your team the voice recording so that I don't want to be the one speaking. You will hear the arguments they had with the bailiff and the lawyers from my office.
And the understanding then was that they could not be allowed in because...
They were instructed. In fact, they were asked to move away. And that's why I want you to hear the voice of the security personnel at the EC office. The EC office is a public institution. And Madame Jen Mensah is not above the law. She cannot interfere with the service of court processes.
Ideally, the bailiffs are the officer of the court, right?
Correct. And the bailiff was at the head of the he was there twice.
You did mention that you will go back to the courts to inform the court what's happened.
Because Dr. Srebo is telling you in front of all Ghanaians on your network that he has given no such instruction, and you yourself have promised that tomorrow morning you provide us with the coverage. Tomorrow morning we will come to your office with the bailiff so that we move from your office to the Electoral Commission office together and see what will happen at the gate.
Is this the normal process when it comes to service and also people possibly receiving it? Does it require...
It's a very simple process.
Yeah.
When a court bailiff comes to your premises to serve you any document, you have no right to tell him that he should go away. You have absolutely no right.
Are they serving the institution or individuals within the institution?
Both the institution and the commissioners who are involved.
Now, let me get this straight because it's the clarity that is confusing people. So, security men will not allow them inside the building to go and serve them. Could they?
And they say they are under instructions.
Could the security men be on a frolic of their own, misrepresenting the institution by saying that...
We have them on voice, and that's what I'm saying, that you know what, there's no need for, apart from the fact that we have them recording. Tomorrow is, God willing, is just a few hours away. We are bringing the bailiff of the court to your office, Joy FM, at 8 a.m. And then together with your correspondent, they will proceed to the offices of the Electoral Commission. You will be there. You will hear everything for yourself.
So, to get a better understanding of what this is all about, first, you said there's a contempt application you are seeking to serve the AC.
Yes.
Exactly what was the basis for this contempt application in the first place?
Very simple. We have filed and served on the Electoral Commission two processes. One is the originating motion on human rights by our client, who is saying that upon the fact that the distance between her house and the district office is too far, she is unable to make the distance, and therefore they are interfering with the right to be registered as a voter. When we realized that they had sent out the press release indicating the fact that they will continue with the, the court, with the registration process. We filed an injunction application seeking to injunct the EC from continuing or going ahead with the limited registration exercise. They were served with that document as well. Once you are served with that document, and they set a precedent, Dr. Dufour joined the presidential primaries of the NDC. The Electoral Commission said because Dr. Dufour had filed a writ and an injunction application, they were not going to go ahead with supervising the presidential primaries of the NDC because they would be in contempt of court. So they are aware. And what I've said, when we served them, they still went ahead and started the limited registration exercise. Based upon that, we have filed contempt application against them. They know the impact and the legal effects of being served with a contempt application. So they are seeking to swerve the contempt application service. And they have instructed security men at their premises to interfere with the service of the process.
Is it unlawful to swerve the service of this application?
It is unlawful to interfere with the lawful service of court documents by court bailiffs.
Okay, but the question I was asking was it was unlawful to swerve the service.
It is unlawful to interfere, and what they are doing is interference. When the bailiff wants access to the public premises to serve the documents on the officers of the Electoral Commission, the security men have been instructed not to allow him into the premises.
Now, I mean, of course, I think we have to follow up on this tomorrow and get to the...
You have promised to provide press coverage tomorrow, so it is not a problem.
Certainly, and we sure will be there to see what pans out tomorrow, whether this service can be carried out. But for now, I'm grateful to you for your time this evening,
I'm also grateful.
And Nick Papo-Samuado represents the plaintiff who is seeking, among other things, to drag the Electoral Commission to court for contempt. That service is what's the controversy surrounding this matter. Now, let's expand the conversation beyond the only happenings in town today. One more thing, though. Let's go to the Ayawaso West Wagon and speak to the NDC's parliamentary candidate who's been very active in the quest to get people registered. John Dumelo, you're welcome to UpFront.
Thank you, sir. Good evening.
Now, I understand that you have not only been encouraging people, but you've been very active in the exercise. What's your general assessment of today's registration exercise?
Well, good evening to your listeners and viewers. Today has been better than yesterday. Yesterday, we were only able to register just about, the EC was able to register just about 57. Today, we went a little over 100. But all in all, still the process is slow, even though we are only 2 polling stations have been assigned to us, and so the process is so slow. People come in, people start queuing as early as 2, 3 a.m. And as at 12, 1 a.m., 12, 1 p.m. in the afternoon, they still haven't registered. And so it's taking a toll on us, it's taking a toll on them as well. And, it's getting quite frustrating.
Your constituency houses the University of Ghana and other schools, actually. But the registration is happening a bit somewhere around Ridge, right? Not within the constituency.
Yeah. So, of course, that makes it also very depressing. Because you have Lagos students who, some are still on campus. You have other, university institutions that are around. You have Atraco, you have Radford, you have Nasford, you have, other smaller ones around. And for them to travel all the way to Ridge in the morning, traffic, and stay there the whole day. Even yesterday, some couldn't even get registered. They had to go back home, and this morning they came back. And so it's becoming frustrating. And what we are saying is, look, at least provide 2 or 3 other registration centers in the constituency so that people don't have to transport themselves all the way, to Ridge to come and register. And that is all that we are saying.
I just spoke to the Director of Electoral Services who was explaining that those places they are using for registration, they gazette these places. It takes 21 days to do additional gazetting of the places we are talking about. That's the entirety of the registration period. That's 21 days. So even though they've heard the complaints and everything, it's almost impossible to do it now. Maybe perhaps next year or in the future, they are likely to extend it. Does it sit well with you?
And you couldn't gazette it before the whole process? I mean, you knew district assembly elections were coming up in December. You couldn't do that before. I mean, his explanations are unacceptable, and that is not. We can't accept it. All we are saying is just decentralize it, or even if you can't decentralize it, provide more registration tables at the EC at Ridge where we are. We've only been assigned 2, and trust me, sometimes it takes 10-15 minutes to register one person. And I mean, look, it's frustrating. We have to provide breakfast, lunch, sometimes even supper for them. And we are talking about over 150 people each day, and it's taking a toll on us. I mean,
no, sorry, you say whose responsibility is to feed the people who are seeking to register?
It is my responsibility, it's our responsibility.
You, the candidate in the election, but you are not a party to the registration.
No, but the truth is, you are convincing people to come and register.
Okay.
We went to people's homes a couple of weeks ago and said, look, there's limited registration coming up. Would you please, we need your vote, of course, in the district assembly elections, and we need your vote in the elections next year. And so, to some extent, it is your responsibility to tell them or to bring them to the registration centers and, make them feel comfortable until the whole process is over. They can't just come there. I mean, I was listening to your Joy FM, and they were saying that people can't even afford 100 cedis, to transport themselves to the registration centers to get registered. And so this whole process is just cumbersome.
Now, you did mention that it's taking like 15 minutes to get the registration process of an individual going through. Is it normal, or this is unusually a bit too long?
It's unusual. I mean, it's unusual. But of course, when the applicant sits in front of the EC official, of course, the EC official is asking certain basic questions which the applicant has to answer. But all in all, if you see the queues outside, if you see the number of people who want to register, if you see people who have queued since 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and they go and sit in front of the EC official, and the EC official is asking questions. I mean, of course, at that point in time, the person is all worn out and frustrated. And so all we are asking for is fine. If you don't want to decentralize, you just get more tables, registration centers for us at the EC place so that people can do it, quickly and they can go. I mean, some students are willing to come and register, but they have lectures. They have lectures, and they just have probably a 2 or 3 hour window to for themselves, and so they can't afford to come and sit at the EC place the whole day. And some people to argue, okay, what about Saturdays? Saturdays are there, but Saturdays you would have more people coming because those who are free, of course, on Saturdays are now coming to register, and so it will still create a problem.
Now, there was talk about voter suppression because people who are unable to pay to travel, people who are unwilling to travel, may not necessarily do so. How do you guys play a role in getting people to go to the centers to register?
So we have to, look, I wake up every morning and, my personal car, I try and convey the people to the registration center. It's tough. Even if I can't, I need to make arrangements for a bus to go and convey the people to the registration center, provide them breakfast, lunch, dinner. When they finish, I have to transport them back to their homes because these are 18, 19, 20-year-olds. You pleaded with their parents to sort of give them to you for a day. And so once you pick them up, you have to take them back. And so it's cumbersome. And mind you, really speaking, they're just going to use the voter's ID card to vote. Apart from voting, it really has no other significance, So you really have to convince them that, look, we need your vote, come and register. And so you have to make sure that they are comfortable throughout the whole process.
I am grateful to you this evening for your time. I'm John Dumelo. He is the parliamentary candidate of the National Democratic Congress in the Ayawaso West Wuogon constituency on day 2 of the registration exercise. And I'm joined also in this conversation by some others who have actually been actively involved in registration and election matters in this country. First, let me speak to the former Director of Elections of the NDC, Elvis Afrianka. You're welcome to UpFront.
Thank you very much, and good evening to you.
I'm hoping to tap into your rich experience in elections organizing and also how these registration exercise goes, though that's the more reason I've been keeping you perhaps on hold throughout this conversation. So you hear from the Electoral Commission, you hear from the matters panning out in court, and you also hear from the people on the ground when it comes to the registration exercise in reality. Are these familiar times? Have things changed, or it's just a repetition of what happens all the time?
Well, I would say that ordinarily, when we're having a registration exercise, it shouldn't take us through all these difficulties and challenges. But unfortunately, since Madame Jemesa and her team took over the reins of our electoral architecture, these are the kinds of difficulties that we've been having. And it's been consistent. You will recall that before the 2019 registration exercise, they actually came out to say that they were going to do registration in their district offices. And our legal team, led by Dr. Dominica Ayene and Lawyer Educhi, proceeded to court. It was in the process, I think just before the hearing, that the EC went to the court with a notice that they were going to extend the registration to the electoral areas, and therefore the case became moot, because if we were going to court on a particular issue, and the institution that was involved has now come to say they are going to extend the registration, in other words, preempting whatever reliefs that we were seeking from courts. And so one would have thought that after 3 years of no registration, where naturally there will be a huge backlog of people, some estimate almost 3 million people in the limited registration exercise there, where they used about 1,500 stations or electoral areas, registered almost 1.5 million people. And then you have a backlog of almost 3 million. So it's just a reasonable expectation that you will increase the number of electoral areas. This shouldn't be a matter for argument or confusion. You know, we are all rational beings. So you expect that there are some things that do not call for argument or even going to court. It's very rational. I'm sure various contributors, and last week, my brother Sami Jemfi did a good job of going through the constitutional provisions. The CI, it's very clear that in determining a location as a registration center, you must look at suitability and accessibility. That is the CI 91.
Okay.
2-1. Okay, so suitability and accessibility. Now, speaking to John, and you're talking about Accra. I also West Wagon is in Accra. Okay, is it suitable and accessible? Not to talk about Wally Bamboy, safety areas, Afram Plains, where people have to travel for hours on end. People have to travel long distances. Some have to spend 60, 100 cities, and if they have to bring guarantors. So the issues are so clear that any reasonable person will say, look, let's have a compromise. But they are adamant. And then in a democracy, if there are issues, the resort we have is the judiciary. You go to court. The NDC goes to court. And we're told the Chief Justice has traveled. Chief Justice has traveled, so we couldn't get a date. Can you imagine thieves come to your house, or you have a police case, you go to the police station, they said the station officer is not there, the IGP is not there. Or you are sick, you go to the hospital, Kolebu, they say the doctor is not there, so you should die. It's so ridiculous. It's so absurd. And for me, I see these are the things that endanger and threaten our democracy. Because in a democracy, you can only resort to the judicial system. Now, if you find yourself in a situation where if you have an issue and you go to the judiciary and you cannot get justice, we are told that they later called and fix a date, 17th of October, by which time the exercise will be over. Is that not an insult? Because you're going to court to seek justice on a matter, okay, that is time-bound. And then you're given a date that will come after the exercise. Complete contempt. And then Lawyer Kapo is telling us they filed a suit. They were served. And the Electoral Commission said they were going ahead. That is contempt. And then they were going to serve them again. And they issued instructions that they should not take the summons. Is this the democracy we want? Is this what we bargain for?
Let me
do all these foolishness, and then tomorrow when something happens, you sit on radio and do a video and call for help from your friends. People should shout. See the kind of foolishness some of our people engage in and destroy our democracy. Every right-thinking person must be concerned about this situation.
Let me bring in Kodio first to join in this analysis that we have actually zoomed in here. PNK Abrampa has been a long-time watcher of our elections with Kodio, and even before that. He understands how the system runs, right from registration through to the election itself. And of course, you have Kodio as a very respected election observation unit. Mr. Abrampa, you're welcome to UpFront.
Thank you very much, my brother. And let me say a very good evening to my brother Elvis. It's a long time. Happy to see you again, my brother.
Yes.
Now, I was just having the conversation about the recent happenings in our election or registration exercise, right from technical hiccups through to the inability of errors and delays, the distancing or the situation of registration centers, and the difficulties that people are facing in getting themselves registered. The time required and the speed with which registration works, plus all of the technical issues on day 2, dominating, but has not been, even though EC says has reduced drastically. We just spoke to John Dumelo, who says where he went through the process, that is not really the case. When you, who have been part of this system, hears these consistently repeated problems with registration, what comes to mind? We never learn? Yes, Mr. Abrampa. Well, okay, I suspect that there's a difficulty with the Zoom connection to PNK Abrampa. Let me now hope that we can fix that. Oh, so I'm told we are lucky to have you on. Mr. Abrampa, so I'm asking for some views on what is the current happening as we have enumerated throughout this conversation in the registration exercise. Is it a cause for worry?
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you, Mr. Abrampa. Can you hear me? I'm afraid I still have the difficulty. So maybe if
Yes.
Yes, now I can hear you properly. So I was just asking about the things you have said about the current registration exercise, technical issues, delays, distancing, and all the other current legal problems are also coming up in the course of the engagement. Are these cause for worry, or is much ado about nothing?
Well, good evening once again, my brother. And let's group the issues into 2. Mm-hmm. One are the obvious challenges that we all spoke about ahead of the elections. And of course, there were so many issues that we discussed. And I think this is the second interactions I'm having with Joy FM. When you say you tell Ghanaians that we're going to do registration, what comes to mind is that a person will take all his documentation.
Well, I guess the internet is not a very good friend tonight, right, from where PNK Abrampa happens to be. So because of the timing, let me bring in Elvis once again on this one. You are telling us why this is problematic and why it should not happen in the first place. But can we have a system that is foolproof, never with any technical difficulties? It's been explained, as was said by the Director of Electoral Services at the EC, that yes, these machines have not been used in the last 2 years. So there's a little bit of a problem. But he believes that we are getting past the problematic goalpost, and we are really having improvements in the second day. On whether or not the electoral areas, the specific registration sectors could be changed, he says it takes 21 days to do a gazette of these centers. As we start now, it might not be possible anytime soon. And they have heard the complaints, but next year may be the best option.
So, as somebody said earlier, if in 2019 you projected that you were going to register 700,000 people and you ended up registering 1.3 million people, and then you used 1,500 electoral areas as your centers, and in 2023 you project that you're going to register 1.5 million people, is it not reasonable that you expect that you will use almost the same number of electoral areas and registration centers? So why then do you insist that you will use 268? If you divide 268 by your projection of 1.5 million, which we think is a low projection, what do you get? So what the effect is what we are seeing. So first of all, they didn't think this through properly. And I have good reason. Now I'm shifting from doing pure analysis to politics. That is deliberate and intentional, and it's meant to favor our political rivals. And the reason why I'm saying that is that they are a government in power, so they will have more access to resources. They will have access to metro buses and all the other logistics. They can move their people to be able to register. And don't forget that we have a history where whenever there's registration, and in 2019, we set up various task forces where people were actually caught registering people in the rooms of some party executives, okay, outside the registration hours.
Sorry, exactly where does this happen specifically?
So many places. And
no, because you made a specific allegation, I am obligated to ask for specifics so that I'll determine for myself if it is worth pursuing.
You are a media house.
Yes.
And the last registration, you know that we arrested several people. Several people. I'll be very surprised if you don't know. We arrested several people in several constituencies who were doing illegal registration. We arrested them, and I have the videos. I'll send them to you. Okay. Now, okay. So this is a fact.
Elvis,
that is known to the
forgive me, but I was seeking to bring in Mr. Abrampa into the conversation so that we can actually have other thoughts on this one. So I understand that now we have clarity on the line, and we can speak to you, PNK Abrampa. Yes, the question I was asking is, these issues that have been enumerated, the difficulties we've had with the registration on second day, is it something that is expected, or it's quite unusual and a cause for worry?
Well, sorry, unfortunately, I couldn't join via Zoom because I'm in Tamale, and the part of the region I am, the network is very bad here.
Very well, we are grateful.
Yes, but I'm happy we can connect on other line. Yes, so let me say that I made this statement, and some people did not get me right. When the EC is about starting its activities, first of all, we need stakeholders, especially political parties and the poll watchers, to make sure that we build consensus to ensure what the constitutional demand of not disenfranchising potential voters is conformed to. So that's why some of us started making noise as to the demarcation of only the district offices as registration centers. What's the problem? Looking at the composition of our districts and some of the areas that is sometimes even inaccessible coming to their district capitals. So that was a problem that we needed to have built consensus, but unfortunately it started. The second issue is now that the ECC is going ahead until the court's decision comes to probably say otherwise. What CDG Ghana and CODU advise is that we
try to educate, sensitize our people to try their best to go and register. I say so because when you look into our Fourth Republic, almost all our registration exercises have encountered one or the other problems. But at the end of the day, we are able to go through, even though probably may not be satisfaction as we may have wanted. When you look into the time that we're introducing the BVD machine, we had similar challenges that sometimes even if the weather becomes bad, the batteries do not work. I believe you remember those periods.
Yeah, 2012, for example. To the extent
that we had to fight for backup batteries to be brought in because some polling stations were able to be functioned. Even when it gets time that the sun does not shine, the batteries don't work. There were so many problems we encountered. But at the end of the day, we were able to do something. And what I've also noticed is that in terms of this, when we realize that after the stipulated period given for registration on the exercise to take place, if at the end of the last day we realize that we're not able to do it, some recommendations come, and usually the AC has also come up with additional days for mop-ups. So yes, there are genuine challenges, as my brother Elvis has been saying, and as all of us have said previously. But since the exercise has started, we encourage everybody who qualifies at this window to register, to make an attempt to go and register, so that we don't intentionally stay out of the contest because we enumerated challenges that we thought were going to happen, and based on that, we are not going to make an attempt. And I've also heard some people who are publicly discouraging youth to go and register. I mean, it's a national exercise. Voting is not compulsory. So whether you register or not, the Electoral Commission will go ahead. That is the most unfortunate aspect. Whether you do register or not, the Electoral Commission will still go ahead and use the same register. We may have court cases, but the point is that your name is not in the register. So at this stage, all that we can do is to encourage as many people as who are qualified at this window to register to do so, whilst we try to settle other matters. Yes, it's unfortunate that we all know the challenges that some of our people we go through. As Elvis was saying, our electoral process demands that we don't put expenses, we don't put costs on people who want to register to exercise their franchise. That's why it is imperative that we create the avenues so close to the people such that they don't incur costs to facilitate themselves to go and take part in national exercise that's supposed to be free. But that said, I believe at this stage that exercise has started. Let's do the sensitization so that we'll get people to register, and at the end of the day, we can also assess the situation. As we've started assessing and see how it goes and what recommendations that may come up.
Now, there is this very peculiar situation of candidates and people who are interested in elections having to transport potential registrants to the various registration centers. Is it wrong? I mean, I'm told.
Very, my brother.
I've
said it since it started. I mean, so now that we said we are going back to use the CI91, the CI91 also makes room for people who don't have the needed identifications to use guarantor system. So the person is not only traveling from his village or rural area to the district office, but also one looking for people who are willing and ready to move from their villages to the district capital to guarantee for the person coming to register. So the person is not looking for a TNT alone. He is also looking for TNT himself and two other people, not even talk about the willingness of getting the people to follow him to the district capital. Looking at some of our remote areas that we have thought through the district because of the kind of job we do. And we know some of the challenges that some of our communities face. Some of them even access their district capital only on market days. And even in those days, go and see the way they are packed in one taxi. When rains, there are heavy rains, the roads are cut off. And they can sometimes 1 month, 2 weeks, they are not able to access their district. So there are real challenges that we started talking about. But as I said, notwithstanding these things, the EC says it's still going ahead. At this point, all that we can do is to canvass and educate, sensitize our people to try within their means, whatever they can, to get registered. Because it's one thing having registered and one thing also voting. But the key point is that if your name is not in the register, you are not a voter. So let's try and sensitize for them to do their maximum best to get registered. Then, as we go ahead, we see what recommendations that will come up.
If I can push you a little bit further on this, if you put together all the things you have talked about in terms of what appears to be irregularities, the technical ones, the difficulties with the situation of registration centers, and all the other things, does it in any way point to the direction of voter suppression?
Not at all. As I said, let's group the issues into two. The first one is the real challenges, natural challenges because of the terrain we operate and because of poverty levels across the country, that which sometimes will make it impossible for some of the people to come. And also the operational challenges as to the machines getting breakdown, as I've read on net this morning, and also the minimal attendance they are able to attend to people who queue. Yes, there are challenges there, but as I said, even in the midst of COVID, that we're entertaining fears that because of the outbreak of the disease, we couldn't have done the registration. We still went ahead and, we're able to come up successfully. So let's see what happens. The machines will break down, but if at the end of the day, by the 2 weeks, because of the fault of the EC's machines, people are still in the queue, they are not able to register, just like voting day. If after 5 p.m. there are still people in the queue, they are all allowed to vote.
Okay.
So I believe if by the end of the 2 weeks, there are a number of people who are willing and ready to register, but because of no fault of theirs, they couldn't, I believe the EC will still extend the day for everybody to be registered.
I am grateful to you, Paul Abrampa-Mensah, PNK, who is with CODIO for a very long time, watcher of our elections. I still have with me a former director of elections of the opposition NDC, Elvis Afriyanka. So, concluding with you, Elvis, what are the practical solutions that can improve our registration exercise going forward?
Are you talking about this particular one or in the future?
Yes, this particular one, because we have a couple of days left. This is just day 2 here.
Well, it's a difficult situation, and I think I'll respectfully disagree with my brother that this will not amount to voter suppression, because there's a contradiction. On one hand, he agrees that when people have to travel from far distances and they cannot afford the transportation and all the inconveniences, and with the rains, they find it difficult to move to the registration centers at a district level to go and register. That automatically stops or prevents those people from registering. And the law, CI 91 and the Article 4245E, are very clear that the Electoral Commission must ensure that the registration centers are accessible and suitable. So if the registration centers are not accessible and suitable, and it comes at a cost to the poor person, and for that reason the person is unable to go and register, that amounts to voter suppression. Because the Constitution's in 45E says the Electoral Commission must put in place mechanisms to expand the register. So whatever the EC does must be in consonance with that. That should be the motive. That should be the driving force. So if the Constitution enjoins you that ensure that you expand the register, and yet by the systems and processes that you put in place, people will not be able to come out to register, then it will amount to voter suppression. Now, this is what we have. I will encourage our party people. Unfortunately, opposition in our part of the world is a challenge. And so we must not relent. I recall 2008, when I was Deputy General Secretary, the kind of struggles we had to go through. And when the government is about to fall, they adopt all kinds of tricks. Let's all mobilize our people the way John Dumelo is doing. I'll be going out from Friday. All of us, PCs, former appointees, constituency executives, let's go around, look for people, the ones who can support one way or the other. Let's get them to register. But that is not an excuse.
Except that the conduct of the voter registration exercise is purely within the remit of the Electoral Commission. You know that, and not the governing party.
Yeah.
That's factual. That's without doubt.
You know, I'm in a very calm mood today.
Yes.
Don't let me go into the fourth gear.
And
it's completely ridiculous.
I
all
guess
the other countries, that funny things happen. Where the process is not within the domain of the electoral authorities of those countries.
I am grateful to you.
And yet things happen. So let's not even go there. You see, sometimes
Elvis, I am grateful to you this evening. I'm happy that you joined us on the show, and many thanks to you, John Dumelo. Many thanks to you, Dr. Sebo Kwaku, and also PNK Abrampa with Kodio, and you also for joining us on tonight's edition of UpFront. Many thanks to you.